Coming up on this week's Web TV, I'll be testing Renault's new warm hatch, the Clio GT, and Graham from the office will be meeting Sir Richard Noble, the man responsible for a 1,000-mile-an-hour car. Hello and welcome to Fifth Gear Web TV and the Renault Clio GT, which I'll be putting through its paces in a moment. First, the news. And we'll kick off with Ariel. Its latest and maddest machine is the Atom 500, which will cost a staggering £115,000. That may seem a lot of money for what is essentially a V8 engine strapped to some scaffolding, strapped to a set of wheels, but Ariel says it will be quicker in the 0 to 60 dash than a Bugatti Veyron. So we're looking at under 2.5 seconds. BMW news now. This is the 1 Series based SUV called the X1. It'll be available in 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive when it goes on sale in October, and prices start at £25,000. Also, following on from the unusual looking X6, BMW is blurring the lines once more between body styles with this 5 Series GT. It will go on sale in October, costs from £40,000 and features a very clever tailgate. This is the ESF, an experimental S-Class designed to show off Merc's safety innovations. It features an airbag in the floor which acts as an emergency brake, a restraint system which nudges the passengers towards the centre of the car to keep them out of harm's way, and adaptive LED lights which reduces glare for oncoming traffic, and also they can spotlight potential hazards. And finally, if you want your fix of amazing cars up close, then book your ticket now to the Goodwood Festival of Speed that's happening between the 3rd and the 5th of July. As well as the usual exotic and rare machines on display, there'll be a good helping of celebrities: Lewis Hamilton, Jensen Button, Peter Fonda and Jay Leno. And who knows, Tiff and I might turn up too. Now, when we heard about a 1,000-mile-an-hour jet car, well, we all got very excited. And then we heard that the man behind it was none other than former world land speed record holder Sir Richard Noble. Well, we just have to go and meet him. So we sent Graham from the office to do just that.
Both of these men have held the world land speed record. Sir Richard Noble snatched it in 1983 when he piloted Thrust 2 to 633 miles an hour. Andy Green broke that in 1997, topping 714 miles an hour, a record which still stands to this day. And now they're working together to do it all over again in a car capable of reaching 1,000 miles an hour. Yay! I caught up with Sir Richard to find out about their latest project, the Bloodhound SSC.
First question, I suppose, the obvious one, is why are we in a school?
It came about because of Lord Drayson at the Minister of Defence. He said we have an enormous problem, a really enormous problem. We can't recruit engineers within the MOD. It's an absolute nightmare. So what Lord Drayson wanted us to do was to do an iconic project and run it through all the schools. So the iconic project is Bloodhound. And this is an incredible car. It's 130-odd thousand horsepower. It's capable of 1,000 miles an hour.
I heard you in the presentation to the children that it's got 3 power plants.
The thing about it is you need very good control of the power. And a jet engine is ideal. But unfortunately, it's not powerful enough, so it needs a booster. And the problem is that the intake is very draggy. So we need the jet engine for its ability to control its power.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's the downside is the drag of the intake. So we need another power plant that doesn't need an intake. So the obvious answer is a rocket, and it's got a liquid oxidizer, which is a ton of high-test peroxide, which is the stuff the girls use for bleaching their hair.
On board
the car. Wow. We'll get through that in 17 seconds. We've got to pump it at 1,100 psi. Into the rocket. And
it's the pump that requires the other engine, isn't it?
That's right. We've taken a V12 race car engine, which delivers 800 horsepower at 10,000 RPM, and that basically drives the pump.
All of the hard work for the project will take place here at the University of the West of England. This is where you'll find the jet engine that will help propel Andy to 1,000 miles an hour, as well as this imposing full-size skeletal model of the car.
The most difficult thing of all is actually stopping it. You've got to minimise the aerodynamic drag of the vehicle to get it up to those speeds and get it to accelerate as fast as possible. But once you're into stopping mode, then of course you haven't got
Need
the
the
aerodynamic
opposite.
drag, have you?
Yeah.
So consequently, it becomes a real problem. And so we're into air brakes, parachutes, and also into wheel brakes.
So you've got 3 means of propulsion and 3 means of slowing it down.
There you go. Yeah.
I don't think we ever got to where you were intending.
We're looking at 3 different sites. So
Yeah.
we've got 2 in America and 1 in South Africa.
Yeah, and when?
Well, it's a big battle now to get this thing built. So basically, we've got to try and build it in a year if we can.
Do you know much about the other entries that might be coming?
Well,
at the same
there are all
time?
sorts of things going on. First of all, the challenge that looked as if it was going to emerge was the late and great Steve Fossett, who unfortunately flew himself into a mountain, and so Steve is no longer with us. That car's up for sale, and it's probably got an 800 mile an hour capability.
Okay.
And then there's another one called North American Eagle, and these guys have chosen a really radical way of going about things, and they've taken a jet fighter and taken the wings off it and replaced them with wheels.
Sounds logical, but somehow
Well, you never know.
for the last 25 years, only you and Andy have been the fastest men in the world.
Yeah. Well, we need the Australians, and we need the Americans, and we need the Japanese and the Chinese, to have a go at this.
Yeah.
Because it's the greatest form of motor racing in the world. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. Well, best of luck.
We've got a long way to go.
Keep my eye out. And if I'm anywhere near a desert in 2011, I'll make sure I look both ways. just in case there's something coming.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My
Cheers.
pleasure.
Right, on to something a little slower, but a lot more practical. The revised Renault Clio. This is the GT version, and it's equipped with the same 1.6 litre petrol engine that powers its potent pocket rocket sibling, the Renault Sport Twingo. My first impressions are that it looks fantastic, a really good super mini. I really like a couple of features here. The black grille, which picks up the black on the headlight surrounds and makes it look mean and moody. Then you've got the 16-inch alloys, 16 inches on a little super mini. Great side skirt, and of course, the spoiler at the back here, topped off by twin tailpipes. For £13,500, you get 126 brake horsepower and a 0 to 62 time of 9.3 seconds, which won't tear up the tarmac, but it will stick with most traffic, providing that you keep the revs bubbling in the power band anywhere over 4,000 RPM. And that's not too difficult to do, thanks to a 6-speed gearbox that's got a relatively short shift. However, those high revs do come at a price. Engine noise. So sadly, the GT doesn't sound as fit as it looks. The front-wheel drive chassis has been tweaked by Renault Sport, the French firm's racing division, and the suspension has also been fiddled with to make it 15% stiffer than lesser Clios, and it's worked to good effect. There's a good compromise between a comfortable ride and sporty handling. The steering has also had a bit of a racy makeover, so it turns more sharply. The feel and weight of the steering, from the front tyres through to the leather steering wheel, is just about on the border of being okay. Any more power and it would definitely require more feedback. Real-world fuel economy isn't its strongest point. After a couple of 100 miles on major and minor roads, I've managed 30 mpg, which is 25% less than Renault claims it can do. However, a relatively low insurance group of 7 will help keep some money in your pocket, as I'm sure a lighter right foot would do too. There's a decent sense of space in here, and the layout is pretty simple and very easy to use. There are fingertip controls for the stereo and trip computer. There's MP3 connectivity, and for an additional £450, the much advertised TomTom satellite navigation system. The seats are the sportiest things in here, complete with their GT logo on them, and they really do give a cracking bit of support both to the leg and to the side. The boot size is pretty much on the money, and for extra versatility you can always front the seats. You will be paying at the pumps to maximise the performance from this car, and you'll have to put up with a noisy engine as the revs increase. It is in a very competitive class. For the same money, you can buy a Ford Fiesta Zetec S or Fiat Grande Punto Abarth, which has got almost 30 brake horsepower more. I'm going to give this car a fifth gear rating of 6 out of 10. That's it for this edition of Web TV. Make sure you join us for more every fortnight. In the meantime, don't forget to watch Fifth Gear at 8 p.m. on Mondays on 5.